How's it going, troops? It's Crusty Old Crow back again, Ryan. Yeah, that's my channel, Crusty Old Crow. Back again with another one of the tactical perspectives. This one's going to be the last one I do today. It seems that I felt like I had to do 3 today. I don't know why, but I had the time. I'm retired. Why not? And you know, it's just one of these things that helps me pass my time, and I'm enjoying myself. And it appears that there's a few of you that seem to be enjoying these enough that you've subscribed, and I really appreciate you guys. All the likes and the subscribes, all the positive comments that I've read on the few that have been out there. I really do appreciate all that, guys, and I thank you very, very much for this. I know this isn't the best kind of way to do a toy review, to have a one take sitting in some guy's garage with a military looking enough background, but nothing fancy here. I don't do the graphics. I don't have pop-ups with messages, and I don't have links in my comments right now. This is a hobby, and I appreciate those of you tagging along and having fun with me. So enough on that. So in the background, you can hear this. The music I've been listening on Spotify today has been all Canadian, and I'm gonna try to pop that on every now and then. There might be the odd video where I don't feel like having music in the background, but this one I did. This is a band that I learned to love when I was in Alberta for quite a while there. And that's the Rural Alberta Advantage. These guys are, how do I compare this? They reminded me a lot of what the hip would sound like if the hip had started on the west coast as opposed to the central Ontario kind of area. That's, you can hear it, and it's very earthy, connected rock music, and I really enjoy it. But if you ever get a chance, this song Tornado 87 is actually the song about the tornado that hit Edmonton in 1987. And that was the first thing I learned about Edmonton when I got there, and I saw what a connected city that was. And they always talk about Tornado 87. So anyways, you guys are free to do that. I'm not being paid to promote it, and honestly, I'm not paying any licensing, so I'm not going to show any more of that. Guys, we're here to talk about G.I.Joe action figures. It's what you came for, and it's what I'm going to spend the rest of this time doing. So, as per the title today's title is, denoting it's 2 guys, 1 base, right? It's we're going to do Tomax and Xamot today, and I'm going to let you know that these were 2 figures that I 100% did not ever intend to ever own in my life. Take you back to the 1980s, and a young, hyperactive, ADHD-driven kid bouncing off the walls with a single mom and getting these toys for Christmas and presents and whatnot, and occasionally getting spoiled with big vehicles at Christmas, like the Whale and the APC, or the Mobat tank and the Vamp. Oh, I can't wait for that to come out. Vamp's coming again. Nice. Anyways, most of this stuff, I was like a sponge. I'm like, Grandma, Grandpa, Mom, all of it. Send it all. Grab me Santa. Me and Santa, we got to talk. I want all this. You can send it all. It's okay. There's no cap on this. Send it all. Until we got to the second, third wave, and then I was like, hold up. Wait. There's a couple here in this wave that I would hate to get in place of, say, somebody like Airborne or Alpine or Storm Shadow or whoever, right? There was the list you really wanted, and then there was the ones you were like, man, they are the last picks in this line, and I'm okay if I never get them. And that's where Tomax and Xamot Paoli fell for me. I have never been able to recover from what I consider to be one of the most ridiculous characters they've ever come up with. And this is no disrespect intended at all towards the creators and the people who developed the G.I. Joe characters, like Larry Hama and all the creative crew that brought this product out in the 80s. I would never split a forked tongue and start speaking bad of them just because there was a character I didn't like, right? And in the last video I did Serana, I told you guys how back then I had no love for Dreadnoughts at all. I thought they were kind of ridiculous and I didn't want them, right? And now with the Hasbro classified line, I do want them. They are worthwhile figures, even if they are based on something I think is a little ridiculous, right? And so the Tomax and Paoli Crimson Guard leadership core, these twin brothers, I thought were ridiculous. And I'm going to turn the camera over to them for a little bit, and I'll just talk in the background about them. But just stand by. We had some shaky camera work on the last one. It'll probably be shaky again. But there's things I, to this day, still hate about them. And there's things I actually don't mind at all. Now, as they've gotten better. Sorry, this stand has to lock. Jeez. Is that going to happen for me or not? Here's what we're going to do. We're going to make sure that's getting twisted up. And now that seems to have gotten it. All right, so there they are. The Paolis, Tomax and Xamot. So Xamot is the one who has the scar on the cheek, right? So that would be, if I did it right, he would be the one with the knives. Let me get my glasses on and agree. Yeah, that's him. So Xamot has a scar on his left cheek that they've put in there. And I'm going to get close-ups and whatnot in a bit. And that's how you tell him apart. He has the hair part on the left. He's got the cobra symbol on his right. And then Tomax over here, it's inverted. It's symbol on the left, part on the right, no scar, right? So when I do a pose with them, you know, just for shits and giggles, I thought logically, well, to me, it makes sense that Xamot, you know, you had two schools of thought. It makes sense that he has the knives, and it makes sense that he absolutely would not have the knives, right? He has the knives because he's a knife fighter. That's why he's got the scar, because he's a knife fighter. He prefers that, right? Or maybe you choose that he chooses to have his little MP5 looking machine gun there and not use his knives because he's traumatized. He's been scratched before. He's a pretty boy. You don't want to get scratched again. Why would he knife fight? I went with the whole he likes knife fighting thing, right? And I'll talk about those knives later because again, great sculpts, great articulation. Hasbro has no problems with these things at all. And they've made these ridiculous characters, to me, look very, very compelling. So what is it that I hated so much about them? It was a lot of their lore, guys. If you remember back to the day, again, I'll remind everyone, I never had the cartoon growing up. I had what I read on the back of the file cards. I had what I learned about them in the commercials for the actual toys themselves. And in the occasional comic book that I did pick up on them. Okay, so these brothers have apparently what is called Corsican syndrome. Now, Corsican syndrome, named after I guess the Corsican brothers. I thought that was a movie about the, Cheech and Chong, but I guess it was about brothers with like this, twin brothers with this connectivity issue. Right, Corsica is an island. It's owned by France. It's just off the coast of France and Italy. Sometimes people confuse it as an Italian island. It's that close. Okay, so very much driven. These are French criminals, basically French terrorists. All right, and again, I come back to not only do they have to have the Corsican syndrome, but they have to be from Corsica, right? A small town on the island of Corsica, which that's like how Marvel used to always have their characters double up on their initials. So like Peter Parker, Reed Richards, Bruce Banner. Like it's to me back in I found it a bit hokey when they start doing things like that, right? So already in this one, I was like, really? So Corsica, from Corsica with Corsican syndrome. I'm surprised you didn't give them the last name Corsica, or their names didn't combine to spell out Corsica. Would you like me to say Corsica again? Right? It's just not happening. Anyways, the idea behind the syndrome they have is that they're so interconnected with some sort of empathic, pheromonic, or brotherly link that they can read each other's minds almost. They're empathic with each other. It's not that they can read each other's thoughts, but they definitely have an instinct on what the other is feeling, intending, wanting, all that, to the point where they can finish each other's sentences and feel each other's pain, which is where they lost me. I'm fine with you wanting to kind of do hey, let's focus on the twin link and twist it for amusement purposes and storytelling. Great, do that, no problems. But when you start adding in these ridiculous, they feel each other's pains, and then you give these guys these villainous roles, and you want me to take them seriously as villains in a terrorism, counterterrorism, paramilitary, combat, war kind of world. Sorry, I'm not going to take them seriously. I'm just not. It's not going to happen. Stop trying. Cease and desist. Okay? But that's the characters. The figures, I actually kind of really like the figures, and I'm really glad I bought them. I really am. Okay? I will, as we go through, go back to my original format. When I do these things, because I am ex-military, and guys, I keep coming back to that because it's more of a reminder to myself, to remind people that I don't look like I'm military anymore. It has been a year, but I am. So that's what I bring to the table. I bring the tactical perspective on these figures and tell you if something makes sense or it doesn't. If it's a good detail that has extra function that maybe isn't well known, I'll mention it. Or if it's really creative and well sculpted and just a brilliant expression of someone's idea of what could be, I'll let that know. And I run that from head to toe, just like a military inspection. So as I do that, I'm going to keep talking about how ridiculous I find them. And sorry, I'm sharing them a base because if you're ever going to pose these two, it kind of makes sense to pose them together, I guess. Wouldn't it? They are twin brothers. And they do look good side by side. I'll even show you the package art in a bit. That was the intent, is to have a symmetry character, right? Somebody besides Vipers and Cobra Troopers that looks exactly alike, but are very much two separate individuals in their own way, right? So there's Xamot for you, and we'll just get him back on the base, right? And yeah, I know, two guys, one base. That's a kid-friendly reference, right? Isn't it? I don't know. I have no idea what that reference is to. Anyways, so there's Tomax, and I've got him with the little MP5 silencer. I think that's what it is. Whatever. It's a boarding submachine gun, realistic looking enough, very military looking. Right, but I've got his silly little knives and his sheaths, right? And then you can see on the face, no scarring on him. That's how you tell them apart. Tomax knew how to block, apparently, right? Or parry, or duck, or whatever. Yeah, Xamot, we're talking about you. All right. That's all I needed to do with that for now. So from head to toe, I mean, the hair sculpts and the facial sculpts are perfectly symmetrical and mirror of each other, and they're great. They're fine. Very realistic, and I have no qualms at all with the head. Let's move down to what I do have qualms with. Let's talk a bit tactics about the body here, and go back to this driving point of this Corsican syndrome interpretation they've applied to these characters. All right, guys. They got their mirroring shoulders armored. Good for them. They have head cutting protection on the right side. So downward swipes from Snake Eyes. Ooh, he doesn't get a choice of swings. It's a thinking man's game on where to chop. But I mean, at least, yeah, there. For fencing and dueling, these guys are apparently outfitted. And they've got that red sash, and I like the sash. The sash seems to be a bit of a must for me. It is an add-on piece attached under a shoulder. You can't remove it, I don't think. I haven't tried and I don't desire to. It's got no other point of connectivity on the side, front, or back, letting it flex and not interfere with the articulation of the waist and pivot points. But it's got enough slack. You can slide the weapon into the back, as I have with Xamot on our right there. When the weapon's not in use, just be careful of the barrel when you do that. Like, pinch the slack and delicately feed the barrel through. That is a delicate barrel because of the silencer attachment where the muzzle meets it. So there is a good bend possibility if you're not really paying attention to what you're doing. And I don't think that's anyone here. I think we all love our toys, right? Anyways, just a point to mention on that. The colors, creatively, I like the silver, red, and blue. I think that was the perfect number of colors to have the 3 number of colors. I think a 4th color would have been a mistake. I don't count black as a 4th color, really. But the 4th uniform color, if there had been a yellow or a different extra blue or darker red or anything like that, I think it would be overwhelming, and I don't welcome the idea. I think simplicity was the key when you're doing a redundancy-based character, right? So when you want to have symmetry between 2 things, you want them to mirror each other well for a point, as you do with twin brothers in this case. You don't want to overload the eye. It'll turn you off, right? I'm not going to cite any examples of where it gets too complicated, but we have seen when G.I. Joe is at its peak after the upswing in the 80s, and it started having struggles with sales and started doing a lot of reprints and repaints and remarketing. We saw some crazy colors come out, and it didn't really work. And it didn't work for the fans because a lot of them didn't want the wacky color jobs. Right now, Hasbro is doing something similar to that, but they're doing it just in a limitation of Python Patrol and Tiger Force repaints and things like that. And they're keeping it limited, and they're thinking it through a bit better. If they're going to have ridiculous colors, well, they're going to have high detail, and that's going to balance it out. And it's been successful for the most part, I think. And here you go. This is a prime example where the less is more effect with these two for balance. Going down, you got that belt, and this is where the ridiculous starts to shine through again. But I understand tactically versus aesthetically, there is explanations for all things here. Their belts, very little for the way of pouches. I don't even see anywhere really. I would see an extra MP5 9mm pouch for the magazines, like no mag pouches at all for them. And there they are carrying submachine guns. So it's like they burn through one clip, then they burn through their brother's clip. Then it's off to knife fighting. And yeah, I just don't see these guys very successful in a tactical situation unless it's just like an Aussie peel back maneuver where they burn their mag while the other runs back. The other stops, burns his mag towards the enemy, and then while his brother runs back, and then hopefully they're at a gun range by that point, right? Or the Crimson Guard have bailed them out, or whatever the story is being told there. Either way, you can tell just from how I'm talking, I'm not big fans of these characters for the way they are. So they've got that silver belt, and then they've got the red cobra mouth outline crotch guard, right? The codpiece. It just reminds me of the old 80s music, and I know Korn did a cover of it, but I remember, if anyone's of my age, remember Cameo, word up, what's the word? But anyways, he had a codpiece, and he used to walk around going meow, right? So this is Cameo. Again, maybe this is a French thing from Corsica. It's all rage, eh? It's banana hammocks with pants. It's what's on in Corsica. Get with it or get behind it, but get out of its way. Okay, so we got the blue pants, and we got the Cobra emblem quadriceps armor. Anti-slashing armor for knife fighting is all I picture this stuff. Does it have any ballistic value? Sure, but we don't train to shoot people in the crotch and in the upper thighs or the knees. We train people to shoot center of mass every time, and it's, there's not a lick of armor. It's the G.I. Joe and Cobra privilege in figurine design to take or leave body armor, which is the fictitious part of things, because in real life, you take the body armor, because if you leave the body armor, we know what happens. Life teaches you a lesson, or maybe it's the final one, right? And these guys are begging for a final lesson. So the legs and the boots and everything like that, good to go. The knives. So you've got a knife on the alternating hips from each other. So Xamot is on the left, Tomax on the right. And then alternating from that, the boots, right? And these knives are their fighting knives. And this is, again, where I'm like, what's the message with these characters here? What are we trying to accomplish when we describe Tomax and Xamot? So we got French gangsters, basically. And if you're trying to search for a frame of reference on what a French gangster, sorry, I didn't realize that wasn't centered for a while there. What a French gangster might actually look and sound like in any other movie. Picture the movie Taken, Liam Neeson, when his daughter gets taken, and it's France, right? So the French gangs. So I had to think, these guys have risen enough prominence that somehow Cobra has wanted them, given them a power, given them status, apparently enough to give them part of the Crimson Guard, make them part of the leadership core of the Crimson Guard at that. And I'm like, where did this entitlement come from? And it makes me question if the Crimson Guard would be taken seriously or not. Because again, I've not seen these guys taken seriously. Are you telling me that the black market rings in Europe, and ideally, and specifically France, once they found out that one brother could feel what the other brother is feeling, they wouldn't immediately find some hilarious way to manipulate and then whack these guys, ironically, making a mockery of going into such a dangerous game with such a big liability about yourself, and then letting it become knowledge, right? In the cartoon, what episodes I saw, and the movie, what I saw of it when I was a kid, and what I read about is these guys are, they're like espionage Wall Street, negotiating, making the deals, doing the exchanges, stuff like that, kind of feel to them. And I'm like, they're not intimidating. They're just not. They're two brothers talking the talk. So their guards have to be intimidating. And this is what I'm getting at with it. Maybe it's okay. They all each have one mag, and then it's about knife fighting, a stylized fighting, because I think the idea is nobody would F with these guys because they'd have 30 troops with them, right? Like an entourage, not just a couple of bodyguards, like a squad plus, if not a company of guys behind them to allow them to act so arrogantly when they're so ill prepared for any kind of consequence. So these knives, to me, I didn't understand why. Why did we have to go with these? Is this a French thing? Is it a island Mediterranean thing? I don't associate it. I associate it with warlocks and sacrifices and Dungeons and Dragons kind of vibe with that curvy blades. Like, I just feel like they should come with a virgin sacrifice character just to lay down in front of them. It just doesn't feel right with what we're talking about with these guys. These are crime lords. And then I'm like, at the same time, I'm like, well, maybe it's just all about style. It's their one piece of bling, their personal swag. These crazy knives they are known for and apparently brilliant for, right? And you picture them as acrobatics flipping around with these unique knives. And again, I'm just like, it distracts from me that they are to be French. When I see knives like that, I almost would want to think like Middle Eastern, like Arabian, Emirates kind of areas for those knives before I would even think French Mediterranean, right? So, yeah, I'm not a big fan of the knives, but the figures themselves, articulation-wise and sculpt-wise, I thought were brilliant. And the simplicity I thought was brilliant. So when I come down to a grade on this, I look at the playability. And I'm going to tell you right now, playability, we're going to say B. B plus, maybe B plus plus, because there's 2 of them. I think that's fair. And I'll explain why. So for playability for me, the options are there for close combats, pose setting for photography and dioramas and storytelling, things like that. You have the options for the firearms. The guns do have the ports for the bang and the flash effects and things like that you get with the Viper set and other sets. Now, they've got good manipulation and they're stiff enough that they hold out all sorts of poses and things like that. That's not the problem. The problem is once you do that, they are limiting to a story, right? They are the same 2 characters, and I find that they're scene hoggers. They are scene hoggers because they are twin brothers. That's what I find with them. On a shelf, putting them together, that is about almost 4 to 6 inches of display space where one image is being brought across as a I get this twin, but it's I can't help but just have the stigma of their character and all this on there, guys. So playability B plus plus, tactical, yeah. Tactical, I'm gonna go with a C. This is my first C. This is my worst grade I've ever given, and I'm not apologetic about it. Okay, I can handle sci-fi. I can handle the creative. I can handle personality being expressed through deficiencies in the uniform and the way the sculpt brings it off. I can get all that, and I can get behind it, but it's going to cost it when I look at it and say, does it make tactical sense? That's all. I just don't agree with it. I can like it and not agree with it. That's fine. Okay, so for tactical, I said I'm giving it a C. I'm standing by that, guys. If you look hard, right, I get that they are ready for knife fighting. Okay, but they are not ready for any kind of consequence of their roles. These guys, there we go. I'm done looking at them. Okay, it's good enough that I like them and that I support anyone buying them. I do think they are vital. Not vital, but I think they're a good grab, and especially the way I got them, guys. Like, it's not like they were bumping anyone on my line, just like in the 80s. In the 80s, I would have threatened my grandmother and Santa Claus with a fall down the stairs and or chimneys if they brought me this as my Christmas present. Like, I would have just been like, and I think I was very vocal about it as a child when they were out and available. Pardon me, guys, I'm just trying to get my camera angles a bit back. When they were out and they were available, I think I made it very clear to both my mom, my grandma, Santa, everybody that would listen. I didn't want them for a birthday, I didn't want them for Christmas, and I did not want them if any of my teeth got knocked out and the tooth fairy was feeling, giving anything with that G.I. Joe label except for these 2 clowns. So here we go. This is more brilliant marketing by Hasbro, right? So in the day, they came in 1 box, and I showed my grandmother for sure, and I knew Santa knew. He built the damn things, right? This box of 2 figurines in a mirror, and I'm like, these are a ripoff. They are ridiculous, and I do not want them. Please, no one get them for me. Please. And it was absorbed. I went through my entire life not owning these. And then I saw them on the display shelf like this, and I was like, I like that. I like that. For the side art, it's symmetrical. Are they facing each other? That works. Are they facing away from each other? That works. This, guys, again, we talk about the different comic artists. If it's not him, it's somebody certainly probably very influenced by him, by the background and the symmetry and the workability and believability, realism, portrait quality of the art. I think this is Alex Ross, who is... if it's not, it's an Alex Ross inspired artist. Alex Ross does a lot of Marvel Masterworks kind of stuff. He's known for his portrait quality interpretation of characters, and that's what I think we're seeing here. But I picked these up at a big box store. I picked them up at, I believe it was Toys R Us. I talked about how I want to help the little guys. This one, I didn't help the little guys. The little guys didn't have it anyways around me. And the only reason I got them is because Toys R Us had a sale on these two in particular, number 44 and 45 of the series, by the way. And it was just a few bucks off, and they were called clearance, right? So it was like a $31.99 or something like that each. And they had a deal, buy one clearance item and get your other clearance item at 40% off. So I got a really good deal on this 2-set. And I decided that the sculpt was good enough to want me back. But guys, I'm closing out with this on the same thing I've been saying a while, this whole time, all these years. These guys are a sniper's frigging dream, okay? If I don't know what an officer looks like, that's hard, right? When I'm trying to ID him, I've got to look for some sort of reaction to this guy's presence in a group through a sniper scope. If I were a sniper, which I wasn't, but through OPs and through observation and watching patterns of life and trying to figure out, you know, from what you're seeing, trying to figure out a coordinated structure of the enemy and who's who and what their routines and their probable reactions are going to be and plan around that. I want to identify who the officers are if I can, and maybe take them out to cause confusion in the enemy, right? And Tomax and Xamot are a huge liability in that I don't need to know exactly who they are. I just need to know, look for a Caucasian and look for him to show up twice within a few feet of each other, right? Look for the twin brother, okay? And kill one, and the other will be completely mentally crazy, maybe. At least he'll have a headache, but, you know, like, we're reducing his ability to function as a leader at that point. And we've killed off the morale of this action, right? Like, there's just so many... Oh, by the way, his heart isn't protected by any breastplates. Just don't shoot him from whichever side you see the big shoulder pad on. Don't make it a neck shot because he wears armor there. You go to the other side. You can definitely do that there, right? And if you corner him, wait for him to fire off one mag and then just start shooting because he's coming at you with knives and he's going to, right? Like, it's just, there's so many issues with the guy, right? So tactically, like, I can't pass them, but I do love this series. I do love the fact that Hasbro made me go out and buy characters I didn't want by doing it with brilliant art, symmetry, paying attention to, you know, keep the points cost down on this one because you're asking a guy to buy it twice. You didn't put it in a double package and bump that price point up. You left the option, but you made it really hard not to buy both. Getting them on sale was the right way to go. But you didn't include a whole lot with them because simple is the way. So guys, that's it for today. No shout outs to anybody or anything today because I have done 3 videos today. I've done enough like that. And I'm done doing it. Thanks very much for spending the day with me, or I spent the day with you. Thanks if you enjoyed any of these videos. Please do hit like. Please subscribe if you want to see more of these videos and talk a little bit about these characters. Even the ones I hate or dislike. Guys, I'm buying them and I'm loving them, right? Zorana, Tomax, Xamot. Characters that I, as a kid, no time for. I got all the time in the world now, and you know what? They're worthwhile. They're really good series. Okay, thanks. That's it for me today. And I think that's it for videos for me today. You'll see some more down the line, and I'm going to do some more conversion works. I got some exciting things on the go that I do want to share with people, so I will talk to you soon. All right, thanks again. Bye.